Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at property address 1119 Tolliver Road here in Molalla. I describe everything, well in this case if you're just facing the front door. So we are on the back side of the house here. Let me show you real quick. We're very close to where the air conditioning unit is. It's probably the best reference you're going to get. And currently right now, there are some little, I'm going to show this, I got to prop my camera up here. There's little vent wells on the side of the house here. That one got knocked over, but that's actually in front of a vent well. This one's just sitting around the clean out, I think just to kind of frame it in so it's easy to hunt down. And so we're dropping into 4-inch ABS pipe right here, checking the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. This is a house I was at about 4 years ago. In fact, almost 4 years exactly. If I recall, we did have some issues as we made our way further out down the line. And this is one of those homes that, I believe it's all crawl space. It's set up kind of like a slab foundation house. The line has a couple, I think there's 2 or 3 branches. In fact, we're going past one right now. There's multiple branches of pipe that come out to the exterior and tie into the line on the outside. Or typically that happens underneath the home. Sometimes it's cheaper during a retrofit or an update to do it that way. Typically you see that more so on slab foundation homes, where it's a lot less expensive to route everything to the outside rather than saw cut the floor here, there, and everywhere. Anyway, last time I was out here, I believe there is some minor standing water a good distance away from the home. I don't believe that was concerning hardly at all at that point. That's what I found last time though, where I believe we had roots in the line. So we'll see if there's any more that have occurred since we were here last. But roots are always something I recommend fixing. They're unpredictable. They're a hard obstruction. They can snag debris up as it comes to the line. So as it sits right now, not seeing a lot of buildup in and around that spot, but sometimes this has a lot more to do with volume going down the line than anything. If you have one person living in a home, for instance, you can have a line that's pretty trashed and it'll still function. When you have a larger household with family, with kids and everything like that, some of these issues become more concerning depending on volume going down the line. Or just transition there to PVC pipe. Still 4-inch diameter. And if roots are not corrected, I always recommend at the least cutting them. You want to cut the roots, do a rescope to check the work, and then you want to do another rescope about a year later. That's to get a baseline for how quickly and aggressively they're growing back. So you know how often you need to be doing root cutting. And there are some things you can do to slow the progression down, or the growth down, root killing foam. And that works best after you've cut the roots. When you rip the root hairs to pieces, that root killing foam gets absorbed much more effectively. But if I recall, I want to say this is a fairly shallow sewer line, so I'll relocate that and find out where the roots are. The standing water is going to drain out, I believe, to quite a minimal amount. That was not something I recommended repairs last time on. The roots are a different story. Standing water, the point this stuff is, I want to say it drains out to a very, very minor amount. When you're dealing with more significant standing water in plastic sewer lines, generally speaking, standing water leads to issues until it's really significant and really close into the home, and usually in combination with older pipe materials. Most of it has everything to do with how the homeowner's treating the sewer line. If you're not feeding the line improper items that build up, you're not giving it anything to build up. If something does slow down a belly, if it's proper, it will disintegrate and move on its way. Whereas roots are a hard obstruction, they snag stuff up. It's a much more likely situation to cause a blockage. So anyway, we're gonna go, the line here does a shot straight out to the side street here. As you face the front door, the line, it runs parallel to the back of the house, moving from left to right, and on out to the side street, directly to the right of the home. Alright, the line's just about done draining off here. It's just a slight trickle moving through the line. We're going to give this just a moment longer to drain here. Alright, we're going to start pulling back in here. Yeah, there's still a little bit of water moving to the line there. You might have like a 1/16 of an inch of standing water, 1/4 inch out here. It's a little bit deeper than that, right on that turn. At almost 90 feet away from the home, that standing water right there, even if it was up next to the house, is insignificant. At this distance, you'd have to flush a pair of shoes down the toilet to clog something like that. It's hardly even worth talking about at those distances. You could imagine a blockage even theoretically forming. You have to fill up a very, very sizable amount of pipe to ever get back to the house. So anyway, I'm going to compare and contrast. All the standing water here looks like it's basically identical to what it was last time. Standing water is rarely a progressive thing. It generally occurs almost instantaneously after a line is buried. And all of it's 2 minor. And whoever's been living here has done a good job keeping the line clean. I mentioned this on the last time too. Very minor offset. This is only an offset by a hyper technicality. My camera, actually, I don't even feel that thing. It's so minor going over the top of it. It's maybe a 1/4 inch out of whack. So the one thing I'm going to recommend to fix on, like I did last time, is the root intrusion. All the standing water in the line here is way too minor, in my opinion, to recommend repairs on. The one thing you will get consistently hanging up in standing water this minor, and it will build up anywhere in a line, it tends to do it more so in standing water. Grease buildup, cooking oil, fats in general going down your sink drain concentrates when it hits standing water, because the grease and oil, it cools down rapidly and starts to harden up. Back in here you're getting a little bit thicker gunk in the flow line. At the least, I would recommend jetting the sewer line to blow the gunk out of it if the roots don't get repaired. I think that would be a decent compromise. That's, jetting these days, a few $100, $350 or so, plus a rescope on top of it. So not crazy. Another little minor offset joint there. And I think last time I recommended the repair on this, just because it's so darn close to this little offset and belly. Obviously I would recommend repairing that as best as possible. The standing water on its own is not repair worthy. It's just the fact that they're right in the same location. Might as well correct it at the same time. But the roots are the one thing I'm going to recommend a fix on. If they're not repaired, I would recommend running a machine to the line just to clean the line up, get the roots cut back as far as you can, and then I would rescope it 1 year to monitor for the growth of the roots. That way you know how frequently you need to be doing any root cutting on the line. And I will mark this with green marking paint. I'll mention the depth here in just a second. All right, so this spot's very easy to figure out too, where it's located at. Up near, in fact, it'll be easier when I show with the camera. I'll pull the camera out in a second. About 3 foot 4 inches deep. We're sitting very close to the fence line there on this side of the home. Maybe 8 inches to a foot away from the fence line. But directly in line with that, you've got, like I was mentioning before, you also have another tie-in that comes in there from that bathroom on that side of the home. That you can actually see the clean-out access and the pipe for that. And it lines up perfectly with it. If for some reason you lose track of the paint markings or something, if you pretty much go in a dead straight line away from that pipe, the direction it's going as it goes into the ground, stop about 10 inches to a foot from the fence line, that's right where the roots are. At about 3.5 feet deep. Alrighty, we're gonna go reel the camera out of the line here. That's the only spot I recommend a repair on. Obviously, I'd recommend kind of fixing that little spot of standing water up if it's not too much trouble at the same time it's repaired. And sometimes that can happen. It's really hard to tell at this point in time, especially with roots and stuff in there that have already penetrated the joint. Sometimes this can occur due to a joint being dry fit. If it doesn't get glued or glued completely, the joint is open to the ground to some extent, and it can allow the roots to get in very easily, but it can also lead to some level of hydro erosion. If and as the line sits right now, technically it is open to the ground. Although roots often are clogging the pipe joint up pretty nicely. So anyway, that's sometimes why you can end up with an offset in and around a set of root intrusions like that, and the root itself can sometimes have been made possible by a bad joint from the get-go. So that may very well be the reason why that joint just up ahead of it settled a little bit, as did the joint where the roots are coming through. So that it's no extra work at all, really. That's just making sure that joint is glued and make sure the line has proper support underneath it. Aside from that, rest of the line here is in good condition, intact, albeit there is some minor standing water throughout the line. None of it is repair worthy in my opinion by a long shot. The vast majority of it is like a 1/16 to a 1/4 inch. Worst spot is around an inch, but it's 90 feet from the home, where it is absolutely insignificant and has zero bearing on functionality. So I would recommend rescoping after any drain cleaning work is done if repairs are not done on this, and if repairs are done, you want to rescope the line to check the work. That's very important to do that. You want to do that when the line is buried, not when the trench is open, or you're not going to catch any potential settling issues due to uncompacted soil.